Good afternoon. In our session today, Lewis Thompson and I are going to be presenting on our topic. Lewis is the GVP of Development in HCM Cloud Group. Lewis has been in development in HCM applications for Oracle for large and mid-sized companies for over 25 years and has been involved in all phases of application development and delivery. He's been responsible for multiple areas over that time, including payroll, time and labor, and localizations. He's now entirely focused on developing and delivering the HCM healthcare vertical as part of Oracle's comprehensive solution for healthcare providers. I am Justin Knoerzer, and I have 20 plus years experience leading teams in and around healthcare technology, specifically in and around ERP solutions. This includes 7 plus years leading the product team at Kaiser Permanente as they executed a transformation from on-premise solutions to Oracle Cloud. I've worked with operational teams and continually focused on mitigations and improvements, really focused on staff and patient care. I've partnered with on these initiatives in all levels of the organization, from the CNO, CEO, physician teams, nursing executives, and ultimately the represented nursing and clinical staff. This provided me, and now Oracle, a unique perspective on solving the challenges these units and staff are managing through. So we're both super excited to have this conversation and continue this journey here at Oracle. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us today on this topic around reimagining the role of HR. As Oracle continues to deliver solutions leading to successful outcomes while building collaborative relationships for our customers in the healthcare industry, it's not just to provide value for them, but it's for all of those who are adopting Oracle Cloud. Today, we're going to review drivers for these successes and the Oracle commitment to continuing to provide solutions and enhance the experience for your staff, specifically in the healthcare operations space. This partnership provides the forum and opportunity to review additional requirements, mitigate risks, reduce costs, while increasing the focus on patients and positive outcomes. Just really quick, this is our safe harbor statement. Many of you have seen this. It's just noting the details and purpose around our product direction and our commitments, so review that as necessary. So thinking of mission-driven industry like healthcare, we all know that patient safety and quality outcomes are extremely vital. I'm not going to get into the discussion of nurse to patient ratios and if this should be mandated or not, because that's part of a much deeper and different discussion. But we're going to focus on how to staff at top of license and why it's integral to patient outcomes and the valuable set of improvements it can result in, like 24% reductions in time spent in the ICU, a 30% reduction in time spent around surgical departments, among many others. This increases patient satisfaction while allowing nurses to devote the appropriate amount of time to patients and caring for their needs while providing higher quality of care that's desired from all of us. Staffing at that top of license can also reduce patient care costs associated with the duration of hospital stays, readmissions, and patient injuries, with the assurance that the correct procedures are being followed and preventing adverse events for the patients. I know that we all have our patient stories, whether we were the patient ourselves or we were advocating for one of our loved ones. But a story that kind of resonated with myself is thinking about a situation where a physician was providing a patient and their advocate a diagnosis. And that really required an immediate need to start chemotherapy and the treatments. The next conversation really resulted around how to get that scheduled and what some of the complications with staffing was for that organization, and just some kindly words to say, remain patient and understand that we're doing our best to make sure these get resolved. Well, none of us would really want to have that kind of experience of being, in a situation where we're having to need care immediately, and then also saying that we have to maybe potentially wait for that care. We want our advocates, we want our patients to make sure we get that immediately. And staffing at the right level and at the right skills is most important to be able to do that. So we provide, as far as Oracle is going, we're providing the reduced administration and additional insights to staffing levels of all aspects of that staff planning to collaborate with our customers. This is the hope, that we don't have those types of conversations for our caregivers, and allowing Oracle technology to provide the focus on the patient that we really want. While we continue to discuss a lot around the provider space, I want to acknowledge that different segments inside the healthcare exist, and we're really focused on all of them. And there's variance even inside of these segments in the healthcare space and the provider space. We work with Kaiser, Northwell, UPMC, Atrium, but also in the payer space like United Healthcare Group, and understanding all the services that are focused on making sure that top quadrant, the members and patients, are taken care of. And as we know, the member-patient experience is very important to high satisfaction and the quality outcomes that is part of that mission-based organizational drive. Oracle continues to work on finding ways to utilize our software to reduce time spent on administrative work and turning our best served time toward the member and the payer perspective and making sure that quality care is achieved. The upcoming slides will discuss what we see as trends in healthcare, how do we mitigate those risks, and also how we provide value utilizing our solutions, not just in the market today, but also in the future. Lewis is going to cover many of these things that are important to the industry, but also provide a differentiator from our HCM offerings. So first, I'd like to review the healthcare industry trends in health and human capital management. And much of this, as you're probably aware, is focused on talent. So to start with the fatigue in healthcare, specifically around the patient care service units. Really, the fatigue, mental health strains, persistent stress, and high levels of stress have really intensified, especially during and after the pandemic. This has led to many workers leaving their jobs and not returning. And even though impending retirements were already predicted, the impact to other demographics from volumes were really not. So low staffing levels and fatigued workers pose a high safety risk and reduction in high quality patient care and additional complications which we want to remove. As mentioned, it's not just the retention of talent, but also upskilling of resources to provide services in a different delivery mode, like telehealth, and treating and mitigating the spread of new diseases as they come up, as COVID-19 showed us. So quality and specialized staff to perform services and adjusting to how we continue to upskill our staffing is vital. Coupled with fatigue issues, retention, acquisition, skills components really put risk to quality care components for our hospitals and clinics. Lastly, the staffing and productivity in each unit is required to make sure that the specialized staff for each unit is available to perform duties in caring for our patients. So staffing challenges can lead to higher cost models and utilizing agency or higher cost nursing advocates, and also focusing on the factors that are variable, whether that's the acuity levels of the patients, the workload drivers that demand and depend on the units for care, and then not to mention the admissions, transfers, and discharges for each of those patients that come through. The ability to pull the patient variability, nurse loads, lead to a complicated and fluid calculation that is really truly hard to understand around productivity. So now that we've talked about the trends a little bit, let's take a quick look at the value of solving and mitigating these. So Oracle has been and continues to work with our healthcare customers in mitigating their risks, especially around patient care where there's risk in their employees. So to promote wellness in patient care units, we're really looking at providing mechanisms for empathetic and connected leadership to reduce turnovers in their units and improve retention. Engaging in contextual relevant experiences to reduce the administrative work to focus on that patient care. And having well caregivers to provide higher levels of engagement, again, increases that patient satisfaction. Improving the employee experience and putting focus on key skills is required to deliver that high patient care, but also expand on new ones as the landscape continues to change. So providing the right level of training and resources to retain talent, but also increase skill sets. Along that path, providing the development path and transparency to understand what are internal mobility options, because transferring talent inside of your organization is much better than watching it leave. So that aids to retention. Lastly, staffing the patient care unit effectively puts the right team in the right place for your patients to make sure that you have that high quality of care. Improving the employee interaction, reducing administrative time allows them to focus well on the patient care task at hand. And focus leadership teams with insights to staff units, reducing needs for agency, travel nurses, keeping those costs lower, aiding the affordability goals of the healthcare provider organization specifically. So with all of those, we know that the challenges are not simple. We know that they're tough to mitigate and solve, but we continue to partner with our customers to find solutions to the challenges, continue to innovate along the way, and really focus on how do we continue to provide value to all of our customers, but also those in healthcare specifically. Now I'm going to hand off to Lewis, and he's going to add some additional details around how do we solve today's challenges, not just how we're doing it today, but also how we want to advance our features and innovations on our roadmap. Lewis?
Yeah, thank you very much, Justin. And Justin's really tried to lay out the problem we're trying to solve as we see it and how we think that'll benefit you and your employees in particular. We're going to do that initially by leveraging some real Oracle strengths. First off, we're going to be looking at the single experience, which is an employee engagement driven UI and an overall process model, really exemplified by what we recently delivered in Oracle Meet, which engages the employee in really thorough and well thought out automated processes that takes them across the entire steps of what it takes to get something done. Secondly, we're going to leverage the fact that we are a single broad platform that covers HCM, ERP, customer experience, and supply chain, all critical components to healthcare, making sure that that one solution really ties itself together, as well as integrating thoroughly with your electronic healthcare record system. Secondly, we're going to leverage our AI, and that's going to help in a lot of ways addressing the things that Justin mentioned. So for instance, around the employee retention and growth, making sure that we use our AI and skills in terms of assignment and upskilling and allowing people to grow in their career, as well as making sure that we keep people certified and in the workforce and capable of doing the jobs that they've signed up and been hired to do. And then flexibility and scalability. So we have got many large HR payroll customers live today in the HCM industry, including Kaiser live at over 250,000 employees. And I think that proves both of those points. From the scalability perspective, we can run very large payrolls. From the ability to model complex union agreements, we can do that as well through our powerful configuration, which allows you to take those rules, automate the validation through the front end, as well as the calculations and reporting. And all this adds up to what we believe is going to be a single comprehensive solution that will be an end-to-end healthcare provider administration solution. That's going to include multiple components, but as I mentioned, that single integrated footprint across all of the different components within your system, from people to money to the things you need to do your job, bandages, MRI scanners, whatever they might be. And those benefits continue to include energy offering for hospitals and clinics that deliver an open integration model. So not only, we know people have different systems throughout their product, different components of electronic healthcare records coming from different systems. So we'll have out-of-the-box integrations when appropriate and open integration points that are robust and update safe for the others. So those are really the components that are going to make this solution and make it different and make it significant in terms of what we're delivering as part of this. So I wanted to go into some of the specific components within each of our product areas within HCM that will help us address this. So first off, in recruiting, Justin mentioned we don't want people overworked. We want to contribute to their wellness. So one of the best things we can do there is to make sure that we have the right people hired at the right time at the right place. We can use the demand data from your electronic healthcare record system to actually anticipate how many people you need of which competencies and which location and which department. Make sure you have those positions created and the appropriate job recs, factoring in just-in-time hiring or a safe cushion on top of that to make sure you have the right people on staff. In addition, in recruiting, we will have the ability to have a healthcare-facing interface that'll help you attract that healthcare talent and make sure you get it on board as quickly as possible and get the best quality candidates. Moving on to global HR. Now, this is your core HCM system. First off, we've got a really strong position management system, but we want to make that more robust and more tied into the other Oracle Cloud systems, particularly around budgeting, so that you know when you hire someone, whether or not that's within that particular budget or grant. In addition, we want to ensure that the contract model is made more robust so that it's easier to model those complex union agreements. And as we move into talent management, which is really a combination of managing your talent, managing the skills that you need, but also having learning be fully integrated with that. So as a competency or a certification is about to expire, we ensure that that training is pushed to that employee. We make sure that those employees in a particular position, we know what skills they have to have at a bare minimum, but we'll use our AI dynamic skills in order to push additional skills to them so that they can better grow within their career and provide a more thorough and really more extensive role within the employer. And then when we go into payroll, this is again, payroll is about the dollars. And we want to make sure that not only are we sending our payroll actuals to the GL in order to have you do that reconciliation, but also integrate it to projects and labor distribution so that we have all those components without having to configure integrations end to end and tied together so you can reconcile what comes in from time and labor, compare that to what you had scheduled, pay that, and compare that to the budgets from both a position perspective and from a grant and potentially ERP perspective. The other component of payroll is that traveling nurses are a big part of your staffing. And in order to do that, we want to find out, and we're working with customers right now, as Justin mentioned, we're validating what we do to make sure it solves the problems you have. And we're investigating whether or not the continued use of actual agencies is the predominant route, or if we're going to need to do independent contractors to help reduce costs and therefore produce 1099s out of payroll, as there will be a payrolling element of that. Moving on to time and labor, we know, for instance, on the web clock. The web clock is the software version of what we used to see as wall clocks in the old days. That's got a combination of enhancements we're putting in there. Firstly, we want to make it smarter. So if you're a nurse, you've come in, you've been called to the OR right away, you want to focus on providing that care and you forgot to clock in. Well, as you leave that OR and you go to clock out for your break, our web clock will be smart enough to say, hey, you forgot to log in or clock in. Can you clock in now? Tell me when it was and why you didn't, so that the manager can mitigate that while it's still fresh, or they're still aware of what happened, and it doesn't become a question at the end of the time card period. In addition, we're capturing geolocation so that when somebody clocks in from their device, we're going to know where they were. Were they in the parking lot? Were they at home? Or where they were supposed to be? We're not going to stop people from clocking in because we know how important it is to provide care, but we're going to give you that ability to monitor and make sure people are following your business practices. When it comes to time off and leave, one of the big things we need to do there is in healthcare, you run 24/7. And a lot of people are going to want Christmas off. And if that's the day that you're normally scheduled to work, you are going to request that off, and we're going to give you the ability to see where you are in the queue and why. So that it's just like when you're waiting on a standby flight, you'll see if you're number 2 or number 5 in the list, and it'll explain to you what that motivation was to do that. In addition, we're going to do a lot to predefine rules. We're going to do it in time and labor and absences as well. Any of the really common patterns, we're going to deliver templates. So it's easier to implement the products in the healthcare space because those rules will be there. It's not something that we'll have to configure, which of course all of our customers are successful with today, but it'll reduce the time to implementation and improve the quality and consistency. Then on top of that, that demand data I mentioned, the thing that's going to feed us and tell us when you need people, well, we're going to use that first for hiring, as I mentioned, in recruiting. But then we're going to apply that same data to our scheduling to make sure you have those people who are on board in the right place at the right time at the lowest possible cost without reducing quality of care. So absolutely essential that we get that right. And then lastly, once we have all this data in the system, we're going to give you analytics that go across HCM, ERP, and supply chain when appropriate, so that you know when you have overtime, where it likely came from, and can suggest actions on how to reduce that going forward. In addition, you'll be able to get details on, across the reconciliation of your position budgets and the budgets you have in terms of grants and those funding, and what actually got processed through payroll. So through all of this, we really think we will have a comprehensive HCM solution really tailored towards healthcare providers, with the idea of we don't want software to be part of your job. We want it to help you do your job and take that friction out of it so that healthcare providers can focus on what they do best, which is provide health and services. So thank you all very much for taking the time to listen to Justin and I. Appreciate that. And I look forward to you being part of this journey with us going forward.